It's Wednesday night, and you know what that means. Hello, I'm Luke Michael Howard, clinical hypnotist and change worker and owner of Lukenosis Hypnosis. And tonight's Facebook Live is entitled Addiction. The couple I worked with who were addicted to cocaine. So if you've just joined us, give me a wave, give me a thumbs up, or say hi in the box below. It's the polite thing to do. So we're going to give everyone a few moments to get here today before I share with you a story of a couple who came to see me a while back who were both addicted to cocaine. So I'm going to share that story a little bit later on. Hello Amanda, how are you? If you're joining, give me a wave, give me a thumbs up, say hi. Also, it'd be interesting to know where the audience is from, so you can put in the comments below where you are from. Hey Amanda, thanks for joining. So this couple, and I will change their names to protect the innocent, and I won't give any personal details away, obviously, but I'll give you the crutch of the, not the crutch, that's somebody else, the crux of the story. So about 6 months ago, a lady contacted me via email. We spoke on the phone a little bit, and she, in her own words, was addicted to cocaine. Hey Deb, how are you? She's addicted to cocaine. So was her husband. They cohabited, as most couples do, and they had a little child as well. And she desperately wanted to get over cocaine, but she was calling me. He wasn't calling me. So I did the screening with her, and it seemed like she was in a position where she was ready to come off of cocaine. But the concern for me was she was doing all the calling around and emailing and stuff and hadn't spoke to the husband. So when I did get to screen the husband, as is often the case, one party or one part of the couple often wants to change, and the other partner doesn't quite want it. So I assessed that she was ready to make some changes. He was not so ready to make changes. But they both knew that their marriage was essentially on the line, and actually being good parents for their little child was on the line as well. So I knew that if it was just me and her, the success was going to be very high. My worry was, working with him, I wasn't sure if he was ready to make those shifts, number one, for him, but number two, you're only as strong as your weakest part. So I knew that no matter how much good work I did with her, unless he was on her side or on the side of sobriety, on the same side of change himself, he was going to pull her down. So it was going to destroy the work we were going to do. Equally, she got to a point where she was doing so well, she had the ability to reach down and pull him up as well. In a perfect world, they would both reach sobriety and be off cocaine. In an imperfect world, they would both pull one another down, drown one another, and they would end up down here, both addicted to cocaine, probably with their marriage hitting the skids, and perhaps having their child taken away from them. So I did the sessions individually. First session with the lady went very, very well. Great feelings about it. Everything great. All the addictive triggers were gone. We're not channeling her. We're not triggering her off at the end of the session. So I felt it was really good work. A few hours later, I did the session with the guy, with the husband. This was all over Zoom, and straight away, my fears about his level of commitment, they came up. And I can't remember exactly what it was, but there was something that he said, and I just knew that he wasn't ready. I knew that he hadn't done his research. There was just a couple of things that he said, and my job is to profile people very, very quickly. I know where people are at very, very quickly, just because I've been doing this a long time, and I couldn't tell you how I always know. I guess it's unconscious competence. When you're very good at something, you don't necessarily know how or why, but you just are. You just do something without thinking about it. Think of the basketball player who can hit the 3-point most of the time, like a Michael Jordan. If you asked him, he might not necessarily be able to tell you, but he kind of just gets into that flow state. Or like another professional athlete, or a singer, or an entertainer, or a stand-up comedian. They can't necessarily tell you how they get there, but they get to that point where they're not 5 minutes in the past, they're not 1 minute in the future, They're just there. They're in the moment. They're in that flow state, that conscious or that unconscious competence. They're doing the right thing consistently without having to be aware of why they're doing it. Anyways, so I just knew. I just had a gut feeling, and I've learned to listen to my gut. And I just felt that he wasn't ready, but he paid for the session, and I wanted to help him. And I realised if I could help them both, and this was just before Christmas, they were going to have a great Christmas. If I was only helping one and the other person wasn't seeing me at all, then it wasn't the ideal situation. So I'm like, all right, I've got them both. Woman's all in. The guy's telling me he's all in. My gut's telling me he's not. So do the session, ends very well. He doesn't have any triggers. A few days later, she messages me that she's doing okay, but she messages me that the husband is not doing so okay. Hey Camille, how are you? Give me a wave if you just joined. Give me a thumbs up. And I asked the lady, I'm like, so thank you for messaging me, but why are you messaging me for your husband? If he's not doing so well, why is he not taking ownership of this and messaging me directly? And I said, I appreciate you being a loving wife, but you focus on your own recovery. You focus on saving yourself, your own health. Let him focus on saving himself. Let him focus on his own sobriety, because that's the only way it's going to work. If you take 100% responsibility for your survival, for saving yourself, for your sobriety, and he takes 100% responsibility for his sobriety, for him saving himself. So we made that agreement. So what happened is a couple of days after that, worst case scenario happened. She was doing great. He was not doing so great. She messaged me about him. He did not message me. He pulled her down. She started using again. So there's a degree of client confidentiality even when I'm working with couples, and they know why I'm working with each one. Whatever I do with that person is between me and them, unless they choose to share what happened in the session with someone else. So second session rolls round. So I'm like to the wife, what happened? She goes, Luke, it's doing great. 3 or 4 days. Didn't even have an urge to coke. Then my husband, he's like, do you still have the numbers? Do you still have the numbers? I'm like, the numbers to what? She's like, the numbers to the drug dealers. Do we have any coke? Did you hide any around the house? Is it in the closet? Where did you put the coke that we have? Do you have any numbers for those drug dealers? Bang, he makes a call, gets some more coke, she gets pulled down. Now they're both down again. They're both at the stage where they called me. Second session comes all around, and I say to the lady, I'm like, listen, I think you and I are going to be successful. But what happened? She tells me about the husband essentially bringing her down. To which I say, so what's going to be different this time? Your craving has been triggered. At the end of the session, you're going to have no cravings. But what's going to be different? What's going to be different from when we finish today until our next session? What's going to be different the next time your husband asks you, hey, did you stash any coke? Is there any coke hidden around? Do you have those numbers? Do you have those numbers for the drug dealers? What's going to be different next time that he does that? Because he might do it. You need to be prepared. She's like, no, Luke, I'm ready. We've had a talk about it. It's all good. Do the second session. Finishes the session. Session goes great. No cravings. She's high, but it's a natural hypnotic high. It's going great. Do my session with him a little bit later on. He's not so forthcoming with what happened. He's just like, it's like the next day, and I felt like I needed to use again. And I did use again. I'm like, did you do the techniques? Did you do this? Did you do that? Oh, no. You paid me all this money to help you, and you didn't do any of the techniques that work in less than 30 seconds to help yourself. No. I'm like, so you're not fucking taking this seriously. You're not taking saving yourself, saving your marriage, perhaps saving your child, or you having your child's life. I'm going to try harder this time. I'm like, don't try. Either do this or don't do it. But there is no try. There's like, I'm ready. So we do some more work. One of these things was when he did coke, it made him have a lot of energy. He was a busy guy, a lot of stress. He felt like a lot of his energy was gone when he didn't do cocaine. So I taught him an energy psychology program, pattern, routine that I use that naturally increases your energy without having to take cocaine, drugs, carbohydrates, or electric shock treatment. So that was the second session. third and final session comes along. Right? Woman comes on. "Oh, how's it going?" "Oh, Luke, it was great. I was doing great for 6 days. 6 days. What happened?" "I already know what happened, right? I know what happened. I was doing great for 6 days. Then John," it's not his real name, by the way, "John, my husband, he's like, 'Do you have any numbers? Where did you hide the coke? Do we have any coke stuck around the house?' I'm like, 'Yeah. We covered this last time. We can't control that. Can't control what he does. So what did you do?' 'Well, I didn't want to use. Wasn't going to use. But yeah, you know what? Got the numbers. Called the coke guy.' I'm like, 'Okay.' I'm like, 'All right.' I'm like, 'So are you gonna stop fucking wasting my time?' And she kind of looks at me, shocked, a bit scared. I'm like, 'You called me up before Christmas because you were scared that you were going to lose your marriage. You were scared that you were going to end up in hospital for a long time. You were scared that you were going to lose your little boy. And now you're just fucking around.' So I'm like, what's going to be the difference when at the end of today's session, you're not going to have any cravings at all? You're going to tell me you don't have any cravings. Then what happens a few days from now when your husband's like, 'Where's coke? Where did you hide it? Do you have any of those numbers of the dealers?' What's going to be different? 'Oh, I'm more determined this time.' I'm like, no, you said that last time. My job is to sniff out bullshit. And when I work with people over addictions, I am this harsh. But it isn't because I'm coming from a place of being a cold, heartless bastard. It comes from a place of understanding how the addictive mind works with people. And people who were in the midst of that battle of their addiction will lie. And they will tell you what you want to hear in order for them to get what they need to get. I've seen it time and time again. It's not that these people are bad, but in their moment, they make bad choices. They will be deceitful to get what they need. They will tell you what you feel you need to know. And I said to her, "Listen, you've paid me. I'm doing my job. I'm coming into this with my bat, with the ball, and I'm swinging at 100%. If you're swinging at anything less than 100%, this isn't going to work. I should not be fighting more for your sobriety than you are. I should not be fighting for your solution more than you should. Because quite frankly, I've been paid and I'm doing my job. And whether or not you choose to do what I'm suggesting you do, so you're no longer addicted to cocaine, at the end of the day, that's completely up to you. It's completely up to you whether you listen to me or you go back to your old life. That's on you. That's only 100% on you. My conscience is clean. I bring it when I come to these sessions. I never suggest the following to my clients because it would be unethical. I'm like, "So what's going to happen the next time he does this?" She stops. She looks down, accesses her emotions. She says, "I might have to leave him." Now I had this in my brain, but I can't. It's unethical to say, "Hey, if he keeps doing this, you might need to leave him to save yourself." It's unethical for me to give that suggestion. It comes from her. She's like, "I have to save myself, don't I? If he asks this again, I might have to go stay with my mum for a while, stay with my sister. I've got to save myself. And potentially I might have to leave him. Might have to get a divorce." And I didn't want that. Absolutely didn't want that for her. But if it came to her sobriety versus continuing to lose her life, end up in hospital indefinitely, lose her little boy, then, if that's the decision our unconscious mind, subconscious mind, monkey mind comes with, it would make perfect sense. When she said that to me, without me leading her, I knew she was in the right place. We did work, went well. The guy comes on. So I'm like, "Hey, how's it going?" He's like very nonchalant. She's full in. He's very nonchalant. "How's it going?" "Oh yeah, I'm doing all right." So what's happened between now and the last session? She's been messaging me. He hasn't. He's like, "Oh yeah, it's been going all right, but yeah, I started to use the other day." I'm like, "Huh." So I gave him the little metaphor I gave to you. So I said, "Hey, it's a bit like this. When you and your wife came to me, you were both here. You were both using. You were both in a bad place. At the end of the session, she was there. At the end of your session, you were there. You were outside of the hole. You were doing very, very well. Then what's happened is you've faltered and you've pulled her down. So now we start here. And this is what's happening each and every week. And she's like, she told you that? It's like, that's not really what happened. What happened was this. I'm like, I don't know which one of you is telling the truth. And I don't give a fuck. But one of you is lying. You can lie to each other, but you can't lie to yourself. And you can't lie to me. One of you's lying. He was trying to tell me she was pulling him down. She was telling me he's pulling her down. I don't know who was true. Both as bad as one another, perhaps. But I'm like, at the end of the day, this is your last session. Third session. This is your last session. You can use it any way that you want. But understand, one of you is pulling the other one down into this hole. If you keep doing this, what's likely to happen? He stops for a moment, looks down, he's like, I might have to get divorced. Might lose my little boy. Might end up in hospital for a while. Same things that his wife was saying to me. Becoming independently of himself because she wasn't around. I'm like, so this is your last shot. It's our last session today. It's either going to work. You're either going to allow it to work today, or you're going to self-sabotage. And you've wasted a whole bunch more money, and you've wasted my time. But I come here with a clean conscience, because I always bring 100% to these sessions, and I ain't fucking around. This is your life. And if I am bringing more to these sessions and to this work than you are, this is a big problem. That is a big problem. And that's an interesting thing, that whenever I do work around addictions to people, if I feel that I'm doing too much work, if I feel that I'm doing all the heavy lifting, if I feel that I'm doing the majority of the work versus my client, that's a problem. Because I'm a guide. But make no mistake about it, they're doing all the heavy lifting. They're doing all the work. My job is just a guide. So if I leave those sessions feeling that I've been doing the heavy lifting, feeling exhausted myself, that means we're way out of balance. I'm fighting for this change way more than they are, and this is not a good position to be in. I am not a martyr. Hypnopixie has joined us. Hello, Hypnopixie. Do some work, do this great technique that I do now, where I take people into the future of making bad decisions, continue to use their addictions in hypnosis, take them back to the past, everything they've missed out on, everything they will miss out on if they continue down this road, and then have them experience a parallel life of today being the day where they change everything. Today is the decision that they make, that fork in the road where they change everything and they go forward on the right path, the path to sobriety, the path to freedom, the path to choice, happiness. It's an amazing technique I do under deep hypnosis with my clients. And I'm happy to say everyone that I've done this technique, every addict that I've used this technique with comes out with it, and their whole vision for the better changes. And essentially, it's like that knockout blow that just takes that last little bit of that addiction, just destroys it. But we have to get to a point first before we do it. Otherwise, it's like shooting a bazooka at a human being. It's a very strong tool, and it only comes out if all else fails. So after the session was our last session, right? But I do stay in touch with them because I want to know that they're doing well, even if I'm not on the clock getting paid. It's really important to me that if someone needs my help and if someone is really engaged in the process, that I still check in with them and they reach out from time to time, so I know how well they're doing. It's really important to me. So this is all around Christmas as well. So often the times when they used to overindulge even more with cocaine and stuff. So it's like, oh, Christmas is going to be a bit of the acid test, right? You know. So if it works at Christmas, well, you know, they're done for good with this. So the lady, she messaged me back like a week later. She goes, like, look, it's a week. I haven't used in a week. You don't understand, it's been at least 10 years that I've gone a week, and the last time was when I was in rehab, and basically I was in handcuffs or what have you, and I couldn't use anyways. And it's like, but here's the crazy thing, John, not his real name, John, my husband, he hasn't asked for cocaine, he hasn't asked if I've stashed any, he hasn't asked for the cocaine dealers' addresses, telephone numbers. It's been like the man that I fell in love with. And then John messages me back later on in the afternoon. He's like, Luke, excuse my language, it's fucking amazing. It's been a week now. And I just feel that I'm back to my old self, but even better, because I understand I can't have my old self back because that time's passed. But it's like taking the best aspects of my old self mixed with the wisdom of being 10 years later into the future. It's like this is the most energy I've felt in so long, naturally. Feeling more connected with my wife. Our relationship, our communication is so much stronger. I thought I was coming to you just to kick this rich man's habit, was his language. Oh, I forgot to tell you. When I asked him at the beginning of the consultation, the screening, how much money that they were spending on cocaine a year, how much money do you think collectively both of them were spending on cocaine a year? I'm curious, put the figure in the comment section. How much money do you think they were pissing away on cocaine a year? Put the price, put the dollar amount in the comment section, and I'm going to unveil that in a few moments when I see some of those numbers come through, and I'll tell you. You won't believe how much they were spending. It's like, holy shit. When I found out how much money they were spending on cocaine, I'm like, I should put up my prices, because this is a crazy amount of money, even for people who are well-to-do. This was a crazy amount of money that they were spending on cocaine, hurting themselves and robbing themselves of their life. But yeah, the husband was doing great. The wife was doing great. Debbie says $50,000. She thinks they were spending $50,000 on coke. The Hypno Pixie thinks $50,000 as well. I'm going to tell you in a couple of moments. But if anyone else wants to guess how much money they were spending on cocaine a year, put it in the comments below and I'll unveil it in a couple of moments from now. Amanda says $100,000. All right, I'm going to tell you in about 2 minutes what it was. But yeah, so they're doing well. Last time I checked in with them, they were doing well. They were both clean. So, you know, ideally they're both doing well now. It's been about a month or so since I last spoke to them, but they were doing great work. And their marriage was in a really, really happy place. Sometimes that's what happens, is one person wants to change, them and their partner have the same problem, but one of them wants to change, the other one doesn't really want to change. And if the other one doesn't really want to change, it can end up pulling the one down who does want to change. It can happen. I've seen it happen. It's like a household who have smokers. Somebody calls me, I want to become a non-smoker. My husband, my wife, my kids, my mum, my dad keep smoking. So they come and see me and they're worried. They're like, Luke, what happens if I spend all this money to come see you to become a non-smoker, and then I go back into the environment with my mum, my dad, my husband, my wife, my kids who are smoking? Sandra says $40,000. Hey Sandra, how are you? I'm going to tell you in 1 minute how much they spent on cocaine. What happens when I go back in that environment? Well, they pull me down. Well, here's something I've noticed. When it comes to nicotine, for one reason or another, I'm not sure why, but when it comes to nicotine, when a family member comes to me, but everyone else in their household or more than one person continues to smoke, I give them very strong suggestions that even though other people in your house may continue to smoke, they may continue to do that, it won't bother you, it won't trouble you in any way, shape or form. If anything, it will remind you of the great pride you have in yourself and how strong you are for making that decision to become clean of the nicotine. And I also give them a suggestion not to be one of these smokers that quits. It's like tells everyone, hey, you shouldn't smoke, you shouldn't smoke, you shouldn't smoke. It's bad for you. That just rubs people up the wrong way. What I say to those people is when your family, when your husband, when your wife, mum, daughter, dad, son, siblings, when they see you not smoking, having known you for your whole life, they're going to come to you. First of all, they're going to look at you and be like, did that hypnosis work? I'll keep an eye on it. I don't really believe in it. I'm going to keep an eye on it, see if it works. I'm waiting for her to slip up. They won't say that, but they are. Right? And then when they see you a couple of weeks, month later, and you're still not smoking, they're like, shit, okay, she's still that hypnotist. It's still working. All right. A month later, they see you like, shit, she's still not smoking. She always smokes. She smoked about 10 cigarettes by this time of the day, usually. It's usually at that point where the other smoker in the household or family will be like, so how's that hypnosis going? To which the client will go, it's great. Yeah, it's been 3 months now. I don't even want a cigarette. Don't even need it. Then the other person who's been watching, waiting for you to slip up, it's kind of like, oh, great, yeah. Well, if it worked for you, you were really addicted to it, weren't you? Guess it could work for me. Then I instruct my clients to give their partner, their friend, their children, their siblings my number, but only when they have seen the change in their mum, dad, the person who ever came to see me for stopping smoking. But when it comes, and I am going to answer your question on how much money this couple spent a year on cocaine in just a moment. So that happens with nicotine. One member of the household can change, and it can be like a ripple effect in the water where everyone can then see that change, and if they want to change, they can change as well. When it comes to other drugs like cocaine, heroin, crystal meth, stuff like that, it's usually best not to be in the environment anymore, quite frankly. Or that the partner or the other person in the household wants to change as well, like the couple who came to see me. They're both here. They were here. One was using, one wasn't. The other one was using, the other one wasn't, until finally we got them there. So anything other than nicotine, and you're working and you're in a household of other people that continue to use, get out of the environment unless everyone is going through some kind of treatment to get help, in which case that's the best case scenario, that everyone wants to change. But that's just a pattern I've noticed. Nicotine doesn't matter. One person quit smoking, everyone else in the house could continue to smoke, but over time they will see that you're easily and effortlessly not smoking, and they'll ask you what you do. They give them my card and they call me. But the other drugs, it tends to be get out of the environment if you want to be clean and we work together, or if the other people in the family, in the household want to quit as well, then I can work with them individually at the same time, so you're all on the right page, but you're going through your own journeys. That being said, to answer your question, my question of how much was this the husband and wife spending on cocaine every year, it was over $100,000. It's over $100,000 that they were spending on cocaine as a part-time recreational activity, over 100 grand. So when a client tells me that, it's always higher. They always downplay the bad things and they upplay the good things. So if they're spending 100 grand, probably means it was 125 plus that they were spending. So I said to him, right, so you're spending a minimum of 100 grand every year. So over 10 years, that's $1 million. It's $1 million you're spending on coke, right? Over 10 years, 100 grand. They're like, yeah. So I'm like, if I just charged you, I don't know, $99,000 to help you both become clean, then not only would you be in profit in year one of $1,000, but in year two, you would have saved $101,001. They're like, yeah. Over 2 years, that would be $201,000. And I went up to 10 years. That would be over $1 million I'd be saving. They're like, yeah. And they can see they're shitting themselves like, holy shit, how much is going to charge me? At which case I should have fit. So I'm like, I'd still be worth it then. If I charged $99,000 to help you both get clean, I would be worth it, wouldn't I? They're like, yeah. I'm like, don't worry. I'm not going to charge you $99,000 or anything like that. But I should, because you'd be making money within the first year. But then they had this beautiful sigh of relief. But yeah, $100,000, it's crazy. So I told them at the beginning of the call, so at the end of today's screening call, before we agreed to work together, when I tell you how much this is going to be, and it ain't going to be 100 grand, you won't be able to say, Luke, I can't afford you, because you're already spending 100 grand a year to kill yourself. So if you can spend 100 grand of your year, 100 grand a year killing yourself or running away and avoiding life, getting high, running away from your responsibilities, if you can afford that to hurt yourself, perhaps lose your marriage, lose your little boy, then what I'm going to charge is far less than that. So you'll be able to use that same money to save yourself with the tools that I'm going to give you. So that was the story of the couple that used cocaine, who are both doing very well as of we last spoke about a month or so ago. So if you're interested, if there's another kind of video you would like me to cover on addiction, whatever the addiction would be, whether it be of a narcotic, heroin, cocaine, crystal meth, whether it be a mental addiction, OCD, whether it be another kind of addiction like to toxic relationships, digital addiction to Facebook, social media, checking your emails, whatever. If you've got a video you'd like me to make or a Facebook Live on addiction, then please do put the suggestions in the comment box below, and given that they get enough votes, thumbs up, I'll probably make a Facebook Live on that. And if you know anyone else that would benefit from watching some of these videos and utilising some of these metaphors and some of these tools, then please do share these videos. Sometimes it could just be one story, folks, that helps people make that shift in their life, for them to save their own life. And that shift could come from you just sharing a story with them. If you're a member of any Facebook groups on addiction and you're allowed to share videos in there, then please do. If you think this is of value, do share this video or any of my videos that will be below on the timeline on addiction. But as always believe.